You see him on the news.
CNN.com contributor, Dean Obeidallah. So, Dean...
Watch him at comedy clubs.
When I say Mecca, do you think of a holy place or an urban clothing line?
Read his articles. And you hear him on the radio. The Dean Obeidallah Show is on live right here on SiriusXM Progress, channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters of the resistance. Yes, the resistance is alive. It is well. And we are continuing November 7th. Dean Obeidallah, MBFF. I hope I'm your MBFF. I'm on Twitter at Dean Obeidallah, Facebook.com/DeanOfRadio, where you can watch the monologue if you so choose. Or drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. I just want to say, during the last few months, when people want to suggest candidates for us to have on, we had countless ones, and I'm really proud of that. You email me. Well, now as we're getting away from the political cycle a little bit and going back to the substantive issues, if there are issues you think I should be covering, I would love to hear that as well. So drop me an email, dean@deanofradio.com. Let me start. Daily reminder. There are now only 727 days, the most important election of our lives. November 3rd, 2020, truly judgment day for our nation. And that's when Donald Trump's name will actually be on the ballot. There'll be no doubt about it. November 3rd. I won't count it down every single day. That would be annoying between now and... But once a week I'll do it. And then as we get closer, like I did for the countdown for this one, a judgment day. So... election night last night. Obviously, we're going to talk about that. But today, though, Donald Trump really showed us going full dictator. He, during his press conference today, which I would say was unhinged, he was slamming the media literally as the enemy of the people. He was threatening Democrats in the House, saying, they investigate me, I will have Republicans in the Senate investigate them. Never heard that before. And after this press conference, giving no hint at the press conference, he turns around and fires Jeff Sessions. And obviously the goal is to end the Mueller investigation. And this, my friends, is how democracies die. This is how democracies, or you want to call it a republic, this is how ours would die, but it's not as dire. It's not as dark. I will lay out the dark part of this, but there's a silver lining, and it happened last night. In fact, the saving grace happened last night because of all the work. But let's talk about what's going on scary here. So Donald Trump had his press conference today. He began by lashing out at Republicans who lost, and not in general, by name. He literally went after Congressman Mike Coffman in Texas and Carlos Curbelo in Florida and Mia Love. He said, too bad. Mia Love gave me no love and she lost. Too bad. Sorry about that, Mia. Trump saying Mia Love gave me no love with Trump's history of sexually assaulting women, not the best choice of words. In any event, he was mad these Republicans didn't want him to come and campaign for him because they felt in their suburban districts where people are not white supremacists that he would not be a good appeal to them there. The reality is, I'll be honest with you, is I've worked on campaigns in the past and watched other campaigns. Running away from the top of your ticket never saves you, if ever. It almost rarely. You might as well run towards the top of the ticket because you might get part of the base out that's animated and likes the top of the ticket. If they are in your party, they're still popular. In any event, Trump does that. Then he goes after CNN, MSNBC, a PBS reporter in ways I had not seen. And I know you don't like to hear, many people email me, I don't like to hear Trump clips. I know that. I'm going to play two short clips because I want you to hear the tone. Forget the words. Listen to the tone. Trump began the press conference by touting how well they did last night, how things went so great. Unbelievable. We won. And then he starts getting questions and he gets increasingly angry, like a cornered animal, I would say. And here's an exchange with Jim Acosta from CNN. This is just part of the exchange. It goes on. And what you can't see is that near the end of the exchange, Donald Trump walks away from the podium. He is so mad at Acosta. He walks away from the podium, leaves the podium blank, and walks on the little stage to the edge of it. And then till Acosta will give the mic back, and then he goes and walks back to the center. So here's first clip number one.
They're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question. Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President.
That's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
He was so angry. Put down the mic. And then, and I'll just play one more clip of Trump. I promise, no more Trump clips. Peter Alexander from NBC gets up to ask the next question and defends Acosta. And here is the reaction of Donald Trump. And it's not normal. If you watch his face and you hear his tone and you watch his body language, this is different. We've all seen Trump be combative with the press. This was a different level. And I'm not kidding. I'm not being inflammatory on purpose by saying he was unhinged. He was unhinged. And then there's something happened after the press conference that confirms it. Let's hear clip number 2.
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts.
Well, I'm not a big fan of yours either. So
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly said
you aren't the best,
Mr. President. You repeatedly over the course.
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people.
There you go. Listen to him just one after the other. And then I won't play the clip. I'll just share what happened. Then the PBS reporter was African-American, and I'm going to screw up her first name. I don't want to say it. Even though my last name's hard, I ruin names. But you know her. She's on all the time. MSNBC, CNN, she's great. And asked Donald Trump about his use of the term nationalism. And he said, that's such a racist question. And to say what you said is so insulting me. It's a terrible thing you said. He was lashing out at everyone. He was actually asked at the press conference, what's going to happen to Jeff Sessions? He would not tell anyone what was going to happen to Jeff Sessions. He said, we'll decide it later. Well, in fact, at that press conference, he knew exactly what he was going to do with Jeff Sessions. He knew he had fired Jeff Sessions because shortly after, news broke, after this unhinged 1 hour and a half press conference, where even Wolf Blitzer said, I've seen a lot of press conferences in my life, and believe him, he has, involving presidents, and I've never seen that, what we just saw. It was like a one-man show. You should have had to pay, there should be like a cover and 2-drink minimum. Like you laughed, you cried, you had no idea. It was anger, lashing out, working out problems with his father, his late dad. I mean, it was just insane. He fires Jeff Sessions. And this is where it gets scary. Jeff Sessions gone, and he replaces him with a man named Matthew Whitaker, who's now the acting attorney general. And just so it's clear, Matthew Whitaker will be in charge of the Mueller investigation unless something changes, because the only reason Jeff Sessions was not in charge of Robert Mueller and Rod Rosenstein was that Jeff Sessions had recused himself because he had worked on the campaign and had lied under oath, as we all know. Well, Matthew Whitaker did not. He's from Iowa. He's an attorney. He was serving as chief of staff over there at the DOJ, but a big loyalist, big Trump lover. And he is now the head of the Department of Justice, and he can be for up to like 200-something days. They have to confirm him then, or he's gone. And Whitaker, just let me tell you a little about Whitaker, because it gets very scary. Whitaker wrote a column for CNN saying that Trump's family finances were beyond the scope of the investigation of Robert Mueller. Whitaker has consistently advocated curtailing the Mueller investigation. On CNN in 2017, when apparently auditioning for a job in the Trump administration, he was just a contributor on CNN. He was on there talking about the Mueller investigation and suggesting ways, seemingly telegraphing to Trump, who may have been watching at home on Don Lemon's show, how you could curtail the Mueller investigation without actually firing the guy. So let's hear. This is Matthew. This is the voice of Matthew Whitaker, who is now acting attorney general, who is now in charge of the Mueller investigation. Last year on CNN, clip number 3.
What do you think the president is trying to accomplish with his repeated attacks on the attorney general?
Well, it's clear the president's trying to put enough pressure on Jeff Sessions so that Jeff does what the president, I believe, would think would just be honorable, and that is resign. And I don't think Jeff Sessions, who is currently in his dream job as attorney general, is going to do that. And really, I think what ultimately the president's going to start doing is putting pressure on Rod Rosenstein, who is in charge of this investigation and is acting attorney general, and really try to get Rod to maybe even cut the budget of Bob Mueller and do something a little more stagecrafty than the blunt instrument of firing the attorney general and trying to replace him.
That's Matthew Whitaker, the acting attorney general, giving advice to Donald Trump via CNN, saying, hey, you don't have to fire Robert Mueller. Just cut his budget so he can't do a thorough investigation. That man now is in charge of the investigation. That man could do just that right now. He doesn't have to fire him. He could just tie the purse strings up to really make this investigation come to a halt. Worse, about the Trump Tower Don Jr. meeting, where Don Jr. met with Russian intelligence-connected people to get dirt on Hillary Clinton. And I won't even play the whole clip, but Whitaker said, you would always take that meeting. No, you would not always. If a foreign national says, I have dirt on my opponent, that's a violation of the law. Meanwhile, you have a guy who's a former U.S. attorney saying, yes, you would always take that meeting to see what they have. So there is Whitaker defending not only Donald Trump, but defending the family of Donald Trump. He was auditioning and he got the job because reports are today in Vanity Fair that Donald Trump Jr. might get indicted by the end of the year. And that's just a reporting. It's not sourced. I mean, I don't have a name, but it's reporting in Vanity Fair, which is a reputable publication. So Donald Trump has hired himself an AG who's not just loyal to Trump, but he will protect the entire Trump family. And this matters for different reasons here, because one is I had made the argument in the past, and I wrote about it, that under DOJ regulations, Robert Mueller could actually seek the indictment of Donald Trump if he went to the acting Rod Rosenstein, his supervisor, and under DOJ policy said there are extraordinary circumstances present. That's the exact term. Extraordinary circumstances present. I want an exemption from DOJ regulations because I think we need to indict the sitting president. He'll never get that with Whitaker, so forget that. So this is dire. This is scary. It's going to get better in a second. Don't leave me here. So you've got acting AG Matthew Whitaker, a man who's publicly advocated curtailing the Mueller investigation, who thinks investigating Trump's finances violates a red line, and who thinks Donald Trump Jr. meeting with Russian officials in violation of U.S. law is something that's okay. Anyone would do it. Add to that, Donald Trump has successfully elevated to the Supreme Court Brett Kavanaugh, a man who wrote an article saying a sitting president should not be criminally investigated, let alone prosecuted. Donald Trump is doing everything he can to protect himself. In fact, now, when I look at what Donald Trump did in the last few weeks of this campaigning all the time, it is clear after today that his motivation wasn't just to help the Republicans win. It was to save himself and his family from going to jail because he knew the Democrats got the House. They would begin an investigation. Of course they're going to. So that's all the bad stuff. But here's the good thing. Because of all the great work of all the candidates who were out there and all the grassroots people who went out for the Women's March the first January after the election and continued to be active and went out there, and we flipped enough seats to take control of the House. Come January 3rd, 2019, we control the House. They could fire Mueller, but we control the House. And what happens then, every single chair of every committee in the House becomes controlled by Democrats. No more Devin Nunes as chair of House Judiciary to protect Donald Trump, or House Intel Committee. It becomes Adam Schiff, former federal prosecutor. Committees like the Judiciary Committee, Democrat Jerry Nadler becomes the chair. Maxine Waters is the likely chair going to be on financial services. Elijah Cummings will be chair of oversight and government reform, another person that has fought with Trump. And all of them have subpoena power. And Jerry Nadler made it very clear today after Jeff Sessions was fired, tweeted Americans must have answers immediately as to the reasoning behind Trump removing Jeff Sessions from Justice Department. Why is the president making this change, and who has authority over special counsel Mueller's investigation? We will be holding people accountable, and those are not just words, because come January 3rd, subpoenas get delivered on DOJ and on the Trump administration, and someone has to come before them and answer those questions under oath. And later in the show, Congressman Mark Pocan, a Democrat, has been on many, many times, will be on at the bottom of the next hour, and I want to ask him point blank so he can share with you exactly what they're going to do to keep this Trump administration accountable. And if you want to know about the scope of the power of Congress to do investigation, I'll just do a quick thing here. We won't get too wonky. But the power of Congress comes from one place, Article 1, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution. It says all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. The Constitution does not say anything expressly about investigations, but the Supreme Court has interpreted that the framers meant that Congress would have the power to do investigation. So, since the earliest days of our Congress, they've done that. They can compel production of documents, of people. They act as a check and balance on the president. They've been able to investigate, apart from any laws, actual corruption from the Teapot Dome scandal in the 1920s, through Watergate, through Iran-Contra, through Bill Clinton, and now. And here's a great thing. Refusal to cooperate with the congressional subpoena. What's the penalty? Contempt of Congress, which could result in a prison term. So, and Per Politico, which is a great publication, said today, Democrats, after the story broke about this, are even preparing a break glass scenario, as they wrote, in that if Mueller is fired, and this is remarkable, the Democrats could have Mueller come before the House committee and testify in open hearing on national TV about all of his findings. Everything. So as they're trying to hide it, there's Mueller going, we found this, this, and that, and laying it out for the American people. The only question I have is how long until Donald Trump tries to dissolve Congress? Because that's the only play left. He has insulated himself now as much as possible from the DOJ. And the firing of Jeff Sessions and putting this Whitaker guy in, who has made it clear, who's auditioned for the job saying, I don't believe in the investigation, it should be curtailed, and I will defend your family, is potentially another count of obstruction of justice. But, and again, I'm not kidding when I say if we were in another country, the authoritarian leader would dissolve the legislative branch, because that's the only thing standing between Trump and complete lawlessness, is a Democratic House coming January 3rd. And he knows that. So he will take his ire out on the Democrats and attack them, try to delegitimize them, but he can't stop subpoena power. Subpoena power! This is remarkable. This is exciting stuff. We control the legislative agenda. We have all the chairs, and we have subpoena power. We can investigate. You must answer the Congress. And if you lie to Congress, federal crime. Isn't that great? This is a remarkable day. It makes me believe in this nation and our system so much more each time, because checks and balances are coming to life here. And it's a good day. It's a good thing for us. I want to talk about the election more. We're going to, believe me. We have Julian Zelizer coming up a little bit. We have a lot of time to take calls as well. But I wanted to talk about this from a legal background so that we can get on the same page here, what's going on. The election last night was remarkable for us. We have 7 governorships we flipped. We flipped the House. Of course, I wish we had won certain races that we were all invested in emotionally, from Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is still not decided, still recount really close. There might not be enough. If Kemp gets below 50%, there'll be a runoff. And Beto O'Rourke, of course, and others out there. We all know their personal favorites. I'm really proud of all the Democrats we had on this show. So many went on to win. We'll have a lot of them on in the future. So let's take a break. I want to hear from you. You can talk about the Sessions thing, or if you just want to share your views on the election, that's fine too. And I can tell you, if we did not win the House last night, today would be such a dark day. I would probably be losing hope, because we would have a situation where Mueller is getting ready to be neutered or fired, and there'd be nothing left to protect us. But because of all of our work collectively, of all the time people put in, all the great candidates we had, all the new firsts we had, from the first Muslim Americans elected, female, 2 of them, the first African Americans elected from New England, 2 now, Ayanna Pressley and Jonna Hanley. The list goes on. Native Americans, first openly gay governor, so many firsts. But because of Congress, we can feel better. That Trump can whine, he can call them names, but nothing in the Constitution I can find actually allows him to dissolve Congress. Can't find it. Will he try? Yeah, at some point. I have no doubt. I'm not even kidding. I have no doubt he's talking to Rudy Giuliani or some other, even kind of like joking, hey, I wish we'd get rid of Congress. And they go, ha. And he goes, what do you think? Is there something I can get rid of Congress? Is there a way? You know he would like to do that. You know he would. Everyone, even Trumpers, like, it would probably be good. Get rid of Congress. The same way that 50% of Republicans believe the idea of suspending elections if Trump wants that. And nearly 50% think that Trump should be able to close down media outlets that are unfair to Trump. Half of Trump's base do not subscribe to American values. I don't even mean the white supremacy stuff. I mean literally do not subscribe to American values. They simply don't. They honor and they're beholden to this man. But last night's election, something for everyone. That's really the truth. If for Republicans, you've got your great white supremacist Hope. He's still in there. And for the rest of us, we have a House that is now democratically controlled. We have 7 governorships. We're going to see Medicaid expanded in various states. A lot of great firsts. And subpoena power. Let's take a break. Come back. 866-997-4748. Give me a call. Be right back.
Progressive values are the best of American values, and we need to keep fighting for them to save our country.
Don't go anywhere. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress 127.